Guys, admit it, at some point during that game you thought, yeah, this is going to be a classic case of FA Cup magic. Barnsley are definitely going to do it. For a few moments, it really felt like one of those nights where logic goes out of the window and the underdogs write history. But cup magic tends to disappear very quickly when you have world-class players like Wirtz and Ekitike coming off of the bench. When that kind of quality enters the pitch, reality usually kicks back in. On paper, the scoreline and the stats tell the story of a fairly comfortable night for the Reds. 4 goals scored, 21 shots taken, and 75% possession. That sounds like full control. But if you actually watch the game, you know it did not always feel that way. There were moments where we struggled to fully settle and impose ourselves, and that's mainly because we shot ourselves in the foot. However, despite having trouble breaking down low blocks all season, Arne Slot and his staff still found solutions. In fact, they found 3 very different ways to completely take the game away from a side that came to Anfield ready to compete. So if you missed the match, or if you want to understand how we managed to score 4 goals against a tough and disciplined low block, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and let's jump straight into it. Starting with the lineup like we always do, Slot made several changes and they all made perfect sense as a part of a rotation. Mamardashvili got the nod in goal, the back line was made up of Andy Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez and Jeremy Frimpong. In midfield, Alexis McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones started the game and were tasked with controlling the tempo. Up front, Rio Nugama, Federico Chiesa and Cody Gakpo led the attack, bringing a mix of energy, movement and creativity from the first minute. Now, opposite to what everyone expected, Barnsley came out of the dugout firing. They started the game with real intent, and if it was not for the post, they could have easily taken the lead within the first few minutes. That early moment could have changed the whole feel of the match. Thankfully, we did not let that turn into momentum. Instead, we quickly dragged the game back to where it belonged. From there on, it became a clear case of attack versus defense. Barnsley tried to break out and get into dangerous areas, and to be fair, they did have a few moments. But we kept the majority of the ball and stayed patient. No matter how much they threatened on the counter, the real question was always the same. What were we going to do with the ball, and how were we going to break them down? The answer arrived in the 9th minute, and that moment brings us to the first method we used to power through Barnsley's block, and when I say power through, I really mean it. As you can see here, the visitors defended in a very compact 5-4-1 shape, sitting deep inside their own area. What made this approach so difficult to play through was not just the numbers they had back there. Barnsley crowded the middle of the pitch to force us wide, and whenever we did go wide, they were quick to double and even triple up on our wingers and wide players. Because of that, our main idea was to circulate the ball from one side to the other. The goal was simple. Try to isolate a winger in a 1 versus 1 situation, or find a small gap to play through. Unfortunately, we could not find the right tempo early on. At times, we switched the play too quickly and ended up giving the ball away. Other times, we took too long, which allowed them to shift across and close every gap. What we did very well, though, was pushing their defensive and midfield lines deeper and deeper. We achieved that through constant runs in behind from the wingers and even from the fullbacks. At the same time, Gakpo kept moving in and around their centre-backs and pivot players, pinning them in place and stopping them from stepping out. All of this created space in pressure, and when you have someone who can launch rockets like Szoboszlai, you do not always need to carefully break down a block. Sometimes you just power straight through it with a thunder shot like he did to open the scoring. Now, remember how we said one of the ways we tried to create chances was by isolating our wide players? Well, that's exactly how we scored the second goal. As the ball was played out wide to Frimpong, you can already see the setup taking shape. Chiesa did not rush his run in behind. Instead, he stayed around the edge of the box, and that decision was key. He noticed the centre-back was dropping deeper into the area, and by holding his position, Chiesa occupied the pivot player arriving from midfield. That small detail made a huge difference. It naturally left Frimpong in a pure 1 versus 1 situation with his defender. From there, the Flying Dutchman showed no mercy. He kept driving diving straight as his marker, forcing him backwards with every touch. The moment the defender lost his balance and ended up in an awkward body position, Frimpong exploded past him and smashed the ball into the net with a beautifully struck finish to make it 2. Now, as we all know this season, we do not do things the easy way at Liverpool. Even with full control of the game and a comfortable 2-0 lead, we still managed to make it difficult for ourselves. And that was because, for whatever reason, Szoboszlai decided to do one of the most ridiculous things you can do on a football pitch. He backheeled the ball to his own keeper inside his own penalty box. You play with fire, and sooner or later, you get burnt. That free goal gave Barnsley a huge boost in confidence. It would not be an exaggeration to say that for certain spells in the second half, they actually looked like the better side. They pressed higher, played with belief, and made things uncomfortable. But just like we said at the start of the video, when you have players like Wirtz and Hugo coming off of the bench, cup magic tends to disappear very quickly, and here is why. The main reason we struggled to play through Barnsley's block was quite simple. Yes, it was a well-drilled and disciplined shape, but we also did not have the right profiles on the pitch to unlock it. In reality, we have only 3 players in the squad who can consistently slice through compact defences. 2 of them are Hugo and Wirtz. The third is Curtis Jones. You can see it clearly here. Even though the area is crowded, Jones still finds a way to play the pass through bodies and break their lines. That alone changes everything. From there, Wirtz shows his brilliant awareness by letting the ball run through to Hugo instead of forcing a touch. Hugo then adds his own quality, playing a perfectly timed back heel into the path of flow. And from that moment, the move feels inevitable. The German finishes off a beautiful sequence with a brilliant strike that completely puts the game to bed. This whole action shows exactly what makes this trio so special. The awareness to know where your teammates are without even looking. The quality to pull off flicks and back heels under pressure. And most importantly, the confidence and ability to break lines in tight spaces. These are the things that only these 3 players consistently bring to this team. And that is also the main reason why we struggle so much against a compact defense. If this connection does not click, or if teams manage to shut them down, we simply do not have any real alternatives that can impact games the same way. For the 4th and final goal, it perfectly shows why having a player with real passing range from deep is so important. Szoboszlai spots the run early and plays a wonderful through ball into space for Flo. From there, Flo keeps his head up and squares it across to Hugo, who is left with an almost open net and no real choice but to score. But what really stands out in this move is the clever movement from the German. Before making the run in behind, he first separates himself from his marker with a small but smart adjustment. That little detail creates the space he needs, and once the pass is played, the defense is already beaten. It's a simple action on the surface, but it makes the whole goal possible. So to wrap things up, this was a game that on the surface looks comfortable, but in reality gave us plenty to talk about. Yes, we scored 4 goals, and yes, the stats were heavily in our favour, but it also highlighted some of the issues we still have when coming up against deep and compact defences. At times, we looked patient and in control, and at other times we made things far harder than they needed to be. What made the difference in the end was quality, individual quality, smart movement, and players who are brave enough to try things in tight spaces. The goals showed 3 very different ways of breaking down a low block, from long shots to wide isolation, to quick combinations through the middle. That variety is exactly what you need to win games like this, especially when teams come to Anfield with the sole purpose of sitting deep and frustrating us. There are still lessons to be learned, no doubt about that, but there are also plenty of positives, especially from the players who came on and changed the rhythm of the game. Performances like this remind us how important depth and profiles are in this squad. Guys, if you enjoyed today's breakdown and want more content like this, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I will see you all in the next one. Take care. Peace.